Today, well, today's almost over. We are installing wheel lights. Now, we'll turn around, head on behind you here. We started on the rear, and we got one side done. It was kind of a pain in the butt because we are working with drum brakes here. If you come around back, you'll see this little lip. We just drilled 4 holes through that. We have nuts, bolts, and washers through these supplied brackets they sent us. And that's about, that's on there. It's about as good as she's gonna get. So, we're gonna go to the passenger side and get this one wrapped up so we can put the rear end together tonight at least. And we will show you how we did it all. Our vehicle being used here is a 99 Dodge Ram 2500. Drums in the rear, like I said, discs in the front. Oh, you're all sorts of zoomed out there. Hold on. There we go. Now, with the drum off, you can see this here is the lip we were talking about. So we'll drill a hole through there, and then on each of the 4 sides there, and our brackets right here go to the wheel light, and then we just bolt right through those existing holes with our new hardware, and on they go. We had another idea, and we spent like 3.5 hours out here trying to mess with it, only to get it on there and visually looking like the pictures I was sent. But you could flick it with your finger and it would just sit there and flop all around. It was disgusting. And another quick note on the wheel lights themselves before we get too far into this. They were originally partially sponsored. I thought they were supposed to be RGBW, but they showed up just white, which is fine because that's what I'm going to run them in all the time anyway. And now the place just won't respond, so I guess you shouldn't get these. I don't know. They work. They seem quality, but I don't really have any particular reason at the moment to say, hey, use this specific set. I have seen the newer sets that are white, and then they do switchback for the turn signals. Kind of wish I had some of those. Or I would go with the Adrenaline Off-Road Outfitters. They have double row, top and bottom RGBW lights. And those are sweet. But for the sake of install, these will work just fine for you. It is now the next day, and we do have this passenger side wrapped up here. Nice and as sturdy as they are gonna get. There's a shot at the back side. Ooh, I can't see. Hopefully you guys can. Now we are going to be starting on the passenger front here. We do have to pull the hub and rotor for this one. See if you can see in there in the dark. As you'll see, there's no brake dust shield there, like there is right there. And that is what we need to mount the lights to. So we do have to pull that there and slip one in, and then we just got to do some simple wiring. One store trip later, we have an impact socket to fit here. Well, not the actual socket itself, just the adapter. Oh, easy peasy.
That was way easier than I thought.
Yeah, maybe we didn't even need to go to the store. That should be tighter next time. For sure. Now we got to do the 4 bolts on the back. Which you'll probably want me to turn it, I imagine, so you can get to them easier.
That would be nice.
Alright.
You can do that.
To turn it, these here white bolts, those 2 there, and then there's 2 on the other side, the ones we're talking about, which will then let us slip this forward, and the brake dust shield over there will just go right in, and then we'll zip it all back together. And here we have a fully installed brake disc shield once again on the passenger side. Whenever we originally did the wheel bearings, like 3 years ago when I got the truck, for some reason we had to rip it off with like force, and I've just never had one since. But we are all nice and back in order, so I'll straighten the wheel and we will get to mounting the actual wheel lights. Just kidding. It would probably help if we put the axle nut back on. Now that we have this all back together, we are realizing that there is absolutely zero way to attach a wheel light to the back side there. So I guess we're pulling it all apart again, and we're going to try and somehow center it on the dust shield while it's not mounted in. Everything is back apart once again, and we are attempting to go about it like so. New plan is somewhat working. We got our top and our bottom secured there. That third one on the bottom, and it is already getting fairly stiff. And then we've also lined our wires up here, so we can snake them over and follow that brake line all the way over, nice and safe. Let's see. There it is. And there we have all 4 of them nice and trimmed down. So now we're going to stick it all back together one more time. To try and avoid this being the 8th, 9th, 10th time that we redo all of this, we are doing double the self-tapper screws now. Well, that didn't work. All of the hardware continues to rub on the rotor no matter what we do. So we're pulling it off again for, I believe, the 9th time today. And we are going to take the dust shield and the new mounts there in hand to the hardware store to try and find a nut and bolt combo that is as thin as possible so that maybe it won't rub on the rotor. Because I got group chats on group chats full of second-gen people just saying, yeah, we have wheel lights, you just screw them right on. But no matter what we do, they will not fit on this truck, it seems.
We're going.
We are now on day 3 of install. Putting these on the front is way more of a situation than any of the install videos you'll find online. So, if you have a second-gen with the 12-valve style brakes, where your hub and your rotor is pressed together right there with the studs, you're going to have to pull all of that off so that you can get to your brake dust shield. Because your brake dust shield is so small and minimal on these trucks. You also have this little spacer you want to put back. It's so small and minimal, there's no way to properly get hardware on this thing with it on the truck. So, we will now get our tabs and everything lined up on here, and then show you the whole reassembly process. Come look at this finished one over here. Got the passenger side one done, and it's perfection. It could not be sitting in a more ideal spot for my opinion. It's tucked all the way up in there. You'll see our line runs nicely along our brake line, which is currently at full lock, and there's no tension. So, just gotta throw this side together, plug the wires up, and 3rd day was the charm. The brake dust shield is lined up so we can get our, this is going to be the front of the vehicle, that's going to be the back, so this is where your brake caliper sits. We know that we need mounts at the top and bottom corner here, so we've spaced them out. We will drill holes, get those mounted up solidly, and then we have a mark there and there to make sure that we clear the steering knuckle, which sits here and up there, and it spreads them out the best. And then we will get the distance for these ones once we have those secured. Then we put it all back together. Alright, we're back at Ace Hardware because I realized I never showed you a close-up of the actual hardware we got. come in here. Due to the very limited space, the only thing you can have between your dust shield and your brake caliper is going to be that little Allen head there. And this bolt size, you will find at Ace Hardware. It's going to be the M4.70 by 16. And then the nut here that I dropped on the ground. This is going to be a lock nut. So once you tighten these on there, they will never ever come loose. And that is going to be your M4.70 stop nut or lock nut. This is what you need. Anything bigger and you will rub on your rotor and you will have to redo it and you'll have to waste your time just like we did. We got our wheel light fully mocked up here, and we're now going to set it up in place just to make sure all the bolts behind our dust shield clear. And boom, they're sitting nice and flush. If you look all the way down there at the bottom, our screws clear the steering knuckle. And from my view over here, we are nice and centered. All we got to do is just throw it back together. Hopefully do that before we freeze to death. Man, is it cold now. We got the brake caliper on and tight. Next is our big axle nut there. And you always want to make sure that if your cotter pin there hole is not lined up with your castle nut, you always tighten it to get it to line up. Don't ever back it off. One last look at the driver's side. We got our axle nut put on and our cotter pin in place. Everything nice and trimmed all around the edge. Got to trim our zip ties that hold our cable right along our brake line there. And we are also going to take my other set of 16-inch wheels and see if the -38 offset they have is going to be enough to clear the wheel lights, or if I need to put them up for sale and start shopping for something newer. In the moment of truth. Oh no, not even close. Well, damn. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that situation, but they don't fit at all. It is well into the 30s at this point, many hours from the last clip, but we have them on. They're not quite the wow factor here in the driveway. But come tomorrow, if we have some chance in the daylight, I will show you our final wiring. But I'm cold at the moment, so we're going to go inside. And tomorrow, we'll go out and get pictures and video of all of that fun stuff. Now we're going to take a look at our wiring while I am under here doing something else. Now, a couple things to note. This is not 110% done. And I do still have to get rid of that ugly spot from when that yoke was leaking, so ignore that. But as far as our wires go, that's where the 4 lights hook in together. That's going to be the control box. And then right there is where it taps in and makes a connection with all of the rock lights that are already under here. That way when I turn that one switch on, everything kicks on nice and white. Now, given that while that is functional, it is secure, it is there, it doesn't look the greatest and most professional. However, it is freezing cold. Like, really terribly cold. Just winter outside. And that's all I have to work on this thing. So, I don't exactly know when we're going to take care of that, but it will get done. And then for the wiring on the rear lights here, we went over to the e-brake cables and followed those along to the top of the axle there on both sides. It's on the front side over here. There, just follow it along over the axle, and then they come up kind of behind the frame here. You can't see, behind there, where they join the frame rail that we were just looking at, and then they tap into the other wires. And then I think I showed the front, but we'll look again. Those, of course, follow your soft brake line over to your frame. Also, you can kind of see the lower bracket there. That used to be straight up and down, but we took each bracket and, you can even see the top one there. We bent them inward, which takes that whole light and pushes it in towards the wheel a good bit. And it also just angles the light so it projects it into the wheel more so like it was doing. Why are we so zoomed out here? Go normal. No, that's more. There we go. So it projects the light into the wheel here like it does the front where they're nice and tucked inside.